I met Natalie at a coffee shop in late September, the kind of unremarkable Tuesday afternoon where the world moved slowly. I was working remotely that day, laptop open, trying to finish a report I'd already delayed too long. She sat across from me at the community table, headphones in, sipping iced tea like she had nowhere else to be. I noticed her because she kept tapping her foot to the music in her ears, and then because she caught me glancing, smiled, and said, "You look like you hate what you're doing." I laughed and told her she wasn't wrong. We talked for 20 minutes before she had to leave for a yoga class. She scribbled her number on a napkin and told me to text her, but only after I finished my report. I did. She responded with a meme of someone setting their computer on fire. That was her sense of humor, dry, quick, unfiltered. Our first date was at a comedy club. She picked it. She said there was no better test of compatibility than laughing at the same things. We sat in the back, drank cheap beer, and whispered commentary between sets. Afterward, we wandered the streets until nearly 2 a.m., talking about everything and nothing. She told me she didn't believe in soulmates, but did believe in timing. I didn't have a clever response to that. I just nodded. We dated steadily after that. Weeknights turned into sleepovers, weekends turned into small trips, beach towns, local festivals, long drives for no reason. She moved in with me 8 months later. We didn't discuss it like a big deal. Her toothbrush showed up in the bathroom, then her clothes started replacing mine in the closet, and one day we just agreed the lease would be in both our names. Natalie was magnetic. She had that kind of energy that made everyone around her feel like something exciting was about to happen. She wasn't the loudest in the room, but you always noticed when she walked in. People gravitated toward her, and she handled attention like she'd grown up under a spotlight. Confident, but not obnoxious. Beautiful, but never vain. I worked in tech, back-end systems, process design, the kind of stuff no one at parties asks about. Natalie was in marketing, but freelance. She took on small clients, built brand strategies, designed logos, ran social campaigns. Her creativity was wild. She didn't need much direction, she just knew what people wanted to see. We got married 3 years after we met. A small ceremony in the mountains, just close friends and family. No big productions. She wore a light blue dress, refused to walk down the aisle, said she didn't want it to feel like a performance. We stood together under an arch her sister made from driftwood and read vows we'd written in a notebook we passed back and forth for a month. We moved into a townhouse a few months after the wedding. 2 bedrooms, an office, a balcony that overlooked a park. It was enough for us. We weren't flashy, but we were comfortable. We worked hard, saved well, split the chores and shared the wins. Friends always said we seemed balanced. Like we'd figured something out early. Married life with Natalie was easy in the way a well-rehearsed routine feels. We weren't perfect, no one is, but we had an understanding that worked. We handled stress differently, she paced when anxious, I withdrew into silence, but we knew how to give each other space without drifting. Arguments, when they happened, were short-lived and rarely cruel. We didn't keep score. We didn't weaponize each other's weaknesses. Natalie thrived with flexibility. She hated rigid structure, so working freelance suited her. Some weeks she'd be slammed with client calls, logo drafts, and marketing calendars. Other times, she'd be in sweatpants until noon, rearranging the living room or experimenting with new content ideas. She was always doing something. She couldn't sit still for long. If she wasn't working, she was sketching, filming, editing. She once said, "I feel weird if I'm not making something." I believed her. I, on the other hand, loved structure. My workday started at 7:30 a.m. sharp. I kept my desk organized, my calendar color-coded. I enjoyed systems. Natalie called me a spreadsheet in human form, which I took as a compliment. She'd mock my budgeting templates and then secretly appreciate how predictable everything was. It worked. We balanced each other out. Weekends were our reset. Saturday mornings were sacred. We had a ritual: coffee at the same corner cafe, then a walk through the farmer's market. She always bought lavender if it was in season. We'd get groceries, cook something complicated for dinner, and end the night with a bottle of wine and whatever we were binging that month. Our social life was healthy but not overwhelming. We had a small group of close friends, couples mostly, some single creatives Natalie had met through her work. Game nights, backyard BBQs, impromptu karaoke in someone's garage. Natalie was the center of it all. She made people feel like they mattered. She remembered birthdays, brought thoughtful gifts, stayed after to help clean up. People adored her. When the pandemic hit, we adjusted like everyone else. I worked remotely full-time, and she moved her client meetings to video calls. We spent more time together than ever, and surprisingly, it didn't feel suffocating. If anything, we got better at being around each other. She'd pop into my office midday with a snack or a weird question, and I'd sit beside her while she edited videos late at night, watching her process without saying much. We started talking about buying a house. Something with more space. Maybe even a yard. She wanted a home studio, somewhere she could shoot content and spread out her ideas without taking over the dining room. I wanted a home office with a door I could actually close. It wasn't a plan with a deadline, just a shared direction we were both walking toward. There were no secrets between us. Just small, steady steps in the same direction. We talked about the future like it was something we were already living. A year after we started house hunting seriously, we found it. A single-story ranch-style home tucked into a quiet neighborhood with old trees and wide sidewalks. It wasn't flashy, but it had character: brick exterior, big windows, an attic with weird angles that Natalie called cozy chaos. The place needed work, but nothing major. We agreed right away, it was ours. Closing went smoothly. We moved in during a rare cool stretch in August. Our first night, we ate takeout on the living room floor, surrounded by boxes and half-assembled furniture, both of us too tired to talk but too content to stop smiling. Natalie posted a picture of us holding keys in front of the porch, captioned, "Built a life, bought a home." It got hundreds of likes. Everyone we knew cheered us on. Natalie turned the guest bedroom into her studio within a week. She set up ring lights, a camera mount, backdrops, and a desk with drawers full of makeup, markers, fabric swatches, and notebooks. The room felt like a burst of color every time I walked past. It looked chaotic to me, but she always knew exactly where everything was. She shot design videos, tutorials, personal vlogs. Her following started to grow, first slowly, then steadily. We supported each other's growth. I got a promotion around the same time, a lead position on a project that had been in the pipeline for over a year. The workload doubled, but so did the pay and the responsibility. I handled back-end systems and client security. Nothing glamorous, but essential. Natalie called me the guy behind the curtain, like I was some wizard making things work with quiet magic. I appreciated the image. Our routines shifted, but we kept our anchors. Dinners together at least 5 nights a week. One weekend out of every month designated as no plans, time, no friends, no family, just us. We still did the market runs, the Saturday brunches, the lazy evenings on the couch. I even helped with her content now and then, recording voiceovers, filming when her tripod wouldn't cut it, pretending to understand lighting angles when she asked for a second opinion. She got noticed by a few brands. Small partnerships at first, beauty boxes, lifestyle gear, niche home goods. It excited her. She spent more time refining her image, her editing, her tone. I watched her become more polished, more professional. I told her often how proud I was. We were in sync. We made decisions as a team, split finances evenly, and talked openly about everything: work stress, family, even dumb things like whether to replace our toaster. We didn't rush into anything. No kids yet, no hard timelines. We were both focused on building something strong, something that wouldn't buckle under pressure. That was the point. Not perfection, stability. We celebrated our 4th anniversary with a weekend trip to the coast. Simple, peaceful. We drank wine, walked along the beach, and talked about the next few years. She said she wanted to launch her own brand someday. I said I wanted to keep growing in my field, maybe take on mentorship roles. It felt like we were both hitting our stride. We were building a future. Together. Life, for a while, settled into a near-perfect balance. We each had our spheres, mine built on deadlines, data, and deliverables, hers filled with creative bursts, social media calendars, and the occasional brand collaboration gone rogue. But we met in the middle more often than not, the space between us always full of warmth, shared glances, and a sense of being on the same page even when we were both tired or busy. Natalie's following passed 50,000 that fall. She joked that she couldn't even name 500 people she actually liked, let alone 50,000 who chose to watch her try new lipstick shades or organize her studio drawers. She played it cool, but I knew it meant a lot to her. Validation, in her world, was currency. And she was starting to earn it in spades. With the new attention came opportunities, bigger ones. She started receiving products weeks before their official launch dates. Companies reached out to have her feature in campaigns. She did a guest spot on a podcast and even got flown out to a media mixer event in L.A. It was a new level, one she stepped into without hesitation. She thrived under attention the way I thrived under structure. It worked. I picked up more responsibility at work too. I was now leading 2 internal teams and handling sensitive infrastructure for a major client. The pace was intense, but I didn't mind. I liked being relied on. I liked solving things. We were both advancing, parallel in our paths but always looping back to each other. When Natalie started taking on more video work, our evenings changed a little. She spent more time editing, often well past midnight. Her setup had grown, new lenses, upgraded mics, mood lighting strips lining her shelves. I helped her mount a backdrop rail to the wall one weekend and joked that I should start charging her rent for the studio. She winked and said, "Only if I can write it off as a business expense." We still took trips when we could. Quick getaways, mostly. Savannah, Asheville, a weekend lake cabin with friends. We both liked change in small doses, enough to refresh but not disrupt. Our photos were the kind people commented on with heart emojis and captions like #couplegoals. Natalie had a way of making our life look easy, even if the filters hid the messy parts. We made plans to renovate the kitchen that winter. Nothing drastic, just updates, a new countertop, some upgraded fixtures, open shelving. She had mood boards ready within a week. We budgeted it together, and I handled the logistics. She handled the aesthetic. It was our usual split. Everything on the outside looked, felt, right. We had equity in the house, stable income, close friends, routines we liked. There wasn't drama or tension. We weren't the kind of couple who had fights behind curated photos. There were no fights to hide. She'd curl up beside me on the couch most nights, her legs tangled in mine, scrolling through comments or tweaking her post drafts. I'd be reading emails or tinkering with code on my laptop. Sometimes we didn't even talk much. We didn't need to. It was comfortable. I believed in what we had. In what we were building. It felt solid. Like the kind of life people spent years trying to create. It started with her schedule. At first, it made sense. Natalie's following had nearly doubled, and her inbox was flooded with offers. She began shooting more content, branching into different niches. Where she used to spend most of her time in the studio, she was now traveling to rented spaces, collaborating with other influencers, and attending pop-ups or brand events. She'd leave the house around noon and sometimes not return until after 10. I didn't question it. She was growing. This was the momentum she'd worked hard for. But something had shifted. She was more tired, but not the kind of tired that followed a full day of filming or editing. It was guarded, like her mind was somewhere else entirely. Her laughs became shorter. Her touch felt brief, like a reflex instead of a gesture. She still kissed me goodbye in the mornings, but sometimes she didn't remember doing it. When I asked about her day, she'd reply with vague answers. Just meetings. Just errands. If I pressed, she'd wave it off. Same old. Her updates used to come in the form of long, animated stories, play-by-play recaps of awkward client calls or hilarious comment threads. Now they came in single sentences, if at all. The first real change I noticed was her phone. She never used to be secretive with it. In fact, she often handed it to me to take photos, respond to texts, or look something up. Lately, it was always on silent. Always face down. She'd keep it in her pocket, even when she was just going to the kitchen. Once, I walked past her studio door and heard a voice, not hers, before she quickly muted her laptop. I didn't think the worst. We both worked in digital spaces, constantly surrounded by noise. I figured she just needed privacy. Maybe she was working on a surprise collaboration or something she wasn't ready to talk about yet. She started dressing differently for her outings. A little bolder, a little more polished, less casual than she used to be. It wasn't that she hadn't always taken pride in how she looked. She just used to do it for fun. Now it felt curated. Purposeful. I told her she looked great. She smiled, said thanks, and turned back to her mirror. Some nights, she'd say she had to film late. I'd find myself eating dinner alone, cleaning up, watching the clock tick past midnight. Her studio door would be shut. When she emerged, she'd head straight to the shower, barely speaking. Once, I asked to see what she was working on, just out of interest. She brushed it off. It's not done yet, she said. She wasn't cold. Not exactly. But she'd started drifting, a little more each day. Like someone tuning into a different frequency. One I couldn't quite hear. I chalked it up to the demands of a growing brand. Burnout. Pressure. Maybe she was just recalibrating. Creatives did that. They'd disappear into their own minds for a while and come back sharper. I reminded myself she loved what she did. And I loved her. So I gave her space. The house felt bigger now. Not in a freeing way, just quieter. Natalie's presence had always filled the space, not with noise, but with energy. She moved like a current. Now that current was flickering, and I didn't know how to follow it. She stopped coming to bed at a normal hour. I'd wake up around 2 a.m., and hear the muffled hum of music or the faint clicks of her keyboard. Sometimes I got up to check on her, but she always said the same thing. Just one more edit, or, I'm almost done. Her laptop screen would glow against her face, and she'd glance at me like I was interrupting. Once, I found her asleep on the couch at 6 in the morning, her laptop open beside her, still playing some audio clip on loop. I covered her with a blanket and left her there. I didn't want to wake her. She didn't seem angry. She wasn't mean. But she was absent in ways that were hard to name. Conversations became short, often transactional. Can you pick up coffee beans? Did you pay the gas bill? I need to be downtown by 3. No hostility. Just a slow retreat. She'd mention names I didn't recognize, collaborators, producers, clients. Men, sometimes, but never with context. I'm shooting with Travis tomorrow. Elijah wants to reschedule. I didn't press. I trusted her. Or I was trying to. Weekends used to be ours. Even when we had separate plans, we made time to reconnect. Now she booked back-to-back content shoots or disappeared for brand events I'd never heard of until the morning she left. It came up last minute, she'd say, slipping on a jacket and adjusting her earrings. Her outfits had become sharper, more curated. Less casual. Her makeup was heavier. More dramatic. I complimented her. She said, "It's just for the camera." We still shared the same house, the same bed, the same meals, occasionally. But something fundamental had shifted. Her energy. Her tone. Her timing. I started to notice the way she carried her phone with her from room to room. How she'd tilt the screen away when I passed behind her. Once, when I walked into the room, she locked it quickly and slid it into her bag. It made me feel something unfamiliar. Not suspicion. Not quite. More like exclusion. Like I was being edited out of her narrative. I tried to reconnect. Suggested a trip, a long weekend somewhere quiet. I even started mapping out potential spots, cabins or small coastal towns. She smiled, but not with her eyes. "Maybe later," she said. "Right now is just crazy." I started to realize I didn't know what she was working on anymore. Not really. She still posted. Still shared highlights and tutorials and behind-the-scenes clips. But there was another layer, something behind the curated posts, something I wasn't seeing. She laughed less. She looked at me less. Not with anger. Just detachment. I still believed it would pass. That it was a phase. A wave of creative burnout or stress. Something temporary. So I held on. Gave her the benefit of the doubt. Because that's what you do when you love someone. You wait for them to come back. By the time spring rolled around, I had gotten used to the silence. Natalie had become a presence I barely shared space with. She moved through our home like someone renting a room, coming and going, locked into her own rhythm. The studio door was closed more often now. Even when she was inside, she rarely let me in. "I'm working," she'd say if I knocked. Deadline. Our shared calendar used to be filled with reminders, dinners, date nights, birthdays. Lately, it had become hers alone. Brand calls, content drops, collaborations. It looked more like a schedule for a small production team than for one person. I stopped adding things after she missed a dinner reservation I'd made for our anniversary. She apologized when she got home, said she lost track of time. I nodded. We ate takeout in silence. She'd grown more image-conscious, though she never said it out loud. She experimented with looks constantly, new hair colors, different filters, photo styles that didn't match her previous aesthetic. I asked once if she was pivoting her content. She shrugged. "I'm exploring." The clothes changed too. They were bolder. Riskier. At first, I chalked it up to the industry. A kind of online persona. "It's what performs," she said. "People expect it." But it began to feel like I didn't recognize her anymore, not just the outfits, but the expressions, the poses. Even her smile in photos looked staged. Not fake. Just distant. Her phone rarely left her hand now. She turned off notifications, kept the screen dimmed. I'd see her eyes scanning something quickly, her thumbs tapping messages she never mentioned. If I asked who it was, she'd respond vaguely. "Just work." She didn't lie. But she didn't tell the truth either. Sleep became irregular. She'd nap during the day, stay up all night. I'd hear sounds from the studio in the middle of the night, soft music, muffled laughter, the dull thud of bass-heavy audio. Once, I asked if she needed help editing. She snapped, "No," then softened. "Sorry. I'm just tired." We used to laugh together. That was one of our strongest things, shared humor. Inside jokes, voices, ridiculous reenactments of internet memes. Now, when I tried, she barely responded. A half smile. A distracted nod. As if her mind was always buffering. One night, I walked past her studio and saw the glow of her ring light through the crack in the door. She didn't hear me. Her voice was low, almost whispering, like she was directing someone. I stood there for a second, then backed away. I didn't know why I didn't knock. She came to bed an hour later and said nothing. I stopped asking questions. Not out of fear, but out of exhaustion. Conversations had become transactions. Her replies were like receipts, brief, stamped, and done. I told myself it was just burnout. Or stress. Or maybe we were just tired. All couples go through phases, I told myself. This was just one of them. A long one, maybe. But still a phase. I still loved her. That hadn't changed. What had changed was everything else. It was late, just after midnight. I couldn't sleep again. Natalie was still in her studio, doors shut, soft music leaking through. I was lying in bed, scrolling through Twitter, half distracted by work threads and sports commentary. My thumb moved in automatic rhythm until I saw something that made me stop. It was a retweet, someone I didn't even follow had liked it, so it showed up randomly. The handle was strange. A string of letters and numbers. No name. Just a grainy profile picture of a woman's silhouette, back turned, barely lit. The tweet itself was a clip. Blurry preview, muted. The caption read something like, "New drop tonight. DMs open. Content gets filthier." I was about to keep scrolling. But something made me tap the account. I don't know what I expected, some spam bot or anonymous thirst trap. But the profile loaded slowly, and what I saw made the breath catch in my chest. The banner photo was of our headboard. Our bedroom. The exact stitching on the pillow I bought last year. The lamp Natalie insisted on, casting a low glow across the bed. The figure in the center was posed. Her face was turned, but I knew that shoulder. That tattoo. That ring. It was her. Natalie. I stared at the screen. Not moving. Not blinking. The account had over 20 videos. Some filmed in different rooms. Some clearly in hotel bathrooms. All explicit. Graphic. Her face was sometimes obscured, sometimes blurred. But I knew. The way she moved. The voice. Even the laugh in one of them, muted, but there. Each post had hundreds, sometimes thousands, of likes. Comments. Messages. Men calling her by fake names, praising her, asking for more. She had built a whole second life right under my nose. Not just a secret. A persona. A platform. I clicked deeper. She'd started the account almost 9 months ago. Right around when she began working late. The usernames on some of the replies were familiar, names she'd casually mentioned as collaborators or fellow creators. Except they weren't filming brand content. They were filming this. I felt something rise in my throat, rage, nausea, disbelief. My hands shook as I scrolled. I kept hoping I was wrong. That there was some explanation. That it was someone else who just looked like her. But it wasn't. It was her. In our house. In our bed. In hotel rooms she said were 4 networking trips. All broadcasted for strangers. I set the phone down. Just stared at the ceiling, trying to process the weight of it. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't jealous. I wasn't overthinking. This was real. She wasn't just hiding something from me. She had been performing it, for an audience. 4 months. The door to her studio was still shut. I sat up slowly, phone still in my hand. And for the first time in our marriage, I didn't feel confused. I felt sick. And something inside me snapped. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the edge of the bed, staring at the wall as the minutes dissolved into hours. Around 3 a.m., the studio door creaked open. I heard her footsteps, soft, practiced. She thought I was asleep. I didn't speak as she climbed into bed beside me. She didn't say a word either. By morning, I had already saved screenshots of everything: posts, videos, profile data, usernames, timestamps. I copied links. Took pictures of the setup in her studio. I made a folder, labeled it clearly. I didn't plan what I was going to do with it yet. I just needed it to be real. Natalie came downstairs around 9, stretching, yawning like she had a normal day ahead. "Coffee?" she asked casually, as if I hadn't spent the night watching her cheat on me in HD. I turned to her and held up my phone. The profile page was open. Her banner. Her posts. Her face. "What the hell is this?" She froze. I've never seen color drain from someone so quickly. She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. "It's not." "Don't," I snapped. "Don't lie." Her voice cracked. It was just content. "It's not personal." "Not personal." I stood. My voice didn't rise, but every word came like stone. "You filmed yourself having sex with strangers and posted it online. In our house. In our bed. You didn't just betray me. You monetized it." Tears welled in her eyes, but they didn't move me. She reached out. I stepped back. "You're disgusting," I said. "You're not even worthy of being in this house. Of standing near me." She tried to explain. "It started as a joke. A side thing. And then people paid. It got out of hand. I didn't know how to stop." "You didn't want to stop," I said. "You enjoyed it." She didn't deny it. I walked to the front door, opened it wide. "Get out." "What?" she whispered. "You heard me. Pack a bag. Go. I don't care where. You're done here." She hesitated, stunned. Then something in her snapped too. "You're overreacting. People do worse." I laughed. A bitter, hollow sound. "You broadcasted your infidelity to thousands of strangers. You think this is forgivable?" I didn't wait for her answer. I posted the account. I made a burner and shared it on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, group chats. I didn't hide what she did. I didn't embellish it. I just showed the truth. Screenshots. Captions. Proof. This is my wife. This is what she's been doing behind my back. It spread like wildfire. Her friends saw it. Her family. My family. Co-workers. Old classmates. Brands she worked with. Some people messaged me privately, stunned. Others publicly unfollowed her, posted statements, cut ties. She called me 6 times that night. I didn't answer. I watched her empire burn in real time. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't touch her. I just let the truth do what it always does when it finally breaks through the lies. Destroy. The aftermath was merciless. By the end of that week, Natalie had disappeared from every platform. Deleted her Instagram, locked her business accounts, wiped her presence off TikTok and YouTube. But it was too late. Screenshots and clips circulated faster than she could delete them. Her face was everywhere, blurred in some places, exposed in others. People didn't hold back. Her old sponsors dropped her publicly. One brand released a formal statement saying they had severed all partnerships effective immediately due to a breach of ethical standards. Another simply reposted my screenshots with a caption that read, "Unacceptable. We don't support this." Friends who used to call her an inspiration either ghosted her or condemned her. Some sent me quiet messages, apologizing, telling me they had no idea. I didn't respond to most of them. I didn't need apologies. I didn't want pity. I just wanted honesty, something I hadn't had in a long time. She tried to contact me again. More texts. Emails. She left a handwritten note on the porch one morning. I didn't read it. I tore it in half and dropped it into the trash without opening it. There was nothing left to say. She was staying with her sister, I heard through a mutual friend. Apparently, her parents refused to take her in. Her sister offered her a couch, for a while. She's ruined, the friend had said, and it sounded harsh, but not untrue. She had crossed a line you don't come back from. This wasn't an affair whispered in a friend group. This was public. Intentional. Chronic. The irony was that Natalie always valued attention. She lived for reaction, engagement, being seen. Now she was more visible than ever, but no one wanted what she had to offer. Her followers hadn't been fans. They were voyeurs. And once the scandal broke, even they abandoned her. People made memes. Jokes. Threads dissecting the account, comparing timestamps, tracking collaborators. What she built as a fantasy was now an exhibit. A cautionary tale. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't need to. It was enough just to watch it crumble. I changed the locks. Cleared out her studio. Tossed everything she left behind, props, outfits, old notebooks. I donated what I could. Burned the rest. I didn't do it in anger. I did it in silence. Like scrubbing away a rot that had quietly spread into every corner of my home. Her name became something I no longer spoke aloud. I reconnected with my family, who rallied around me without hesitation. My sister came over to help repaint the walls. My father installed a new security system. My mother dropped off meals for a week straight like I was recovering from surgery. In a way, I was. This wasn't heartbreak. This was extraction. Removing the tumor that had grown beside me, slowly stealing from my life, feeding on my trust. I didn't know what came next. But I knew what was done. And I wasn't about to let her ghost haunt what I rebuilt. Not ever again. Life after Natalie wasn't immediate peace, it was an empty room that echoed with the absence of what used to be. The first few weeks felt like waking up in a house someone else had lived in. Her fingerprints were still on everything. Her scent lingered in the fabric of the couch. I didn't miss her, not the person she became, but I missed the version of her that once made me feel chosen. That version, I eventually realized, had never really existed. I got up earlier. Started running again. It wasn't about fitness, I just needed to move, to prove to myself that I wasn't frozen in the same space she left me in. The air felt different with her gone. Clean, but cold. Honest, but sharp. I focused on my work. For hours at a time, I'd lose myself in code, systems, things that made sense. Unlike emotions, logic had a way of responding exactly how you expected it to. I liked that. I needed that. Friends came around. Slowly, carefully. At first, it felt awkward. They didn't know what to say. I didn't need them to. Their presence was enough. We grilled burgers in the backyard, played poker, watched dumb movies. They treated me like I hadn't been broken. Like I was still whole. And over time, I started to feel that way again. One afternoon, I got a message on LinkedIn, from a recruiter. Said he saw my work, heard about how I handled things. "You've got backbone," he wrote. "We need someone like that." I took the call. It led to an interview. And eventually, a new position. Better pay. More freedom. A fresh start. I cleaned out the last of her things in early June. Not because I needed to, but because I wanted to. I boxed up the remaining pieces of the past and drove them to a donation center. No ceremony. No anger. Just release. It felt like breathing after holding your breath too long. I didn't follow her. Didn't check to see what happened next. I didn't care. Her story was no longer mine to carry. What I did care about was the stillness in my home. Not the absence of noise, but the absence of deception. Of shadows. I started painting again, badly, but joyfully. Played music I hadn't listened to in years. Took photos just for myself. The kind you don't post. The kind you keep. And eventually, I met someone new. Not a replacement. Not a rebound. Just someone who asked me how my day was and waited for the answer. Someone who didn't perform for a camera, or hide behind filters. Someone who, when she looked at me, really looked. And this time, I looked back, clearly, fully, without the haze of nostalgia or the hope that I could fix something broken. I don't believe in fairy tales anymore. But I do believe in healing. In truth. In starting over, even when the past refuses to apologize. She tried to ruin me. Instead, she freed me. And now I know exactly who I am. The man she couldn't break.